Hello, Julian. All right, mate. Welcome to part two. Sorry about the delay. Hope you're well. You there?
I'm there, mate. Yeah, it's because I'm on my phone and not my laptop, mate. But yeah, I'm here.
Josh Kelly won. What do you think?
Yeah, it's just that style works against a certain type of opponent. You get a non-punching guy who's, well, he's got some good skills. But I said this before when he fought David Avanesian. If you don't have a mid to close range game, defensive game, offensive game, you're going to really struggle when you get at world level. But his opponent, I thought, were very light-fisted. It was quick enough, but it was landing some really clean shots on Kelly, but there was no power there. Had that been anybody with any kind of like power whatsoever, you'd have seen a different fight. I'm not knocking Josh Kelly, but this low hands, only a certain amount of fighters can get away with that. Yeah. You know, Nazim got away with it. You know, Ali obviously.
Roy Jones.
Yeah, Roy Jones, the first version of Ali before obviously Vietnam. Some fighters can get away with it, but Josh Kelly, we saw against David Avanesian, as soon as he got walked down, taken in the trenches, he just imploded. And that's exactly what you'll see again. So I see what happens is, right, people get reinvented. So who was the kid he beat last time out? The British level kid he wasn't expected to win. I forget his name. And people were going nuts saying, finally Josh Kelly was seeing the real Josh Kelly. But that's easy against the fighter who just walks towards you. Once you get to that European fringe world level, well, as we've seen before with Josh Kelly, I don't think he's that great, mate. And I don't see him as being world class. And I don't care what he's ranked. I couldn't give a toss what he's ranked. When people tell me he's number 3 by this, he's number 4 by that, I don't give a toss, right? Ultimately, he's been massively exposed before and he'll get exposed again.
We don't get a toss about that because we know that promoters sit these people down and say, I want my guy up the rankings, and we know what goes on, don't we?
When you got a guy who's got 18, 19 wins unbeaten and he's got 3 KOs, you know he couldn't knock out the proverbial. You know that. So
he weren't landing on Josh though, wasn't he?
Yeah, it was landing clean, but what's the danger for Josh Kelly in that fight?
There's no danger. There's no to worry about if the guy's a feather duster, man, is there?
Nothing whatsoever. So I said before, I think Adam Booth's a really good trainer at a certain style, that kind of like that. Reflex-based style. Yeah, the reflex-based style. When it comes to being able to fight mid-range, up close, be really comfortable at mid-range. We saw Avanesian walk him down, and you saw the wide-eyed panic in his eyes after 4 rounds when Avanesian started catching up with him. And if it was Avanesian or whoever, they'd just do the same. They'd terrorise him, mate. They'd terrorise him.
Would Conor Benn terrorise Josh Kelly?
Well, depends what he's been eating for breakfast, I would guess. That'd be my answer.
Yeah.
Do we have to talk about Conor? Are we going to cover Conor? Do we have to?
Well, I'm still waiting for this not guilty. It should have been here Friday, shouldn't it? Oh, we've had it. Oh, it's next week. Next week. We've had this for a year nearly, haven't we? Oh,
well, what we've had is the defence changes, doesn't it? Right. No contamination. None. The labs are dirty. They've tested 20 million samples. Thousands of people have been touching my samples. They haven't followed protocol. Blah, blah, blah. WBC say, no, actually, the labs are fine. They've followed process. All right, it's not that. What is it? WBC says eggs. No, it's not eggs. It's not eggs. There's no clomiphene in my system, etc. And then he starts to talk about a witch hunt and maybe there was foul play and maybe it was planted. He didn't say that, but he as good as insinuated that. And now what we're hearing, we're hearing the start to put an argument together about this potentially has got this unique biological, this system, which it might have, but effectively if there's any contaminated clomiphene gets in his system, his body doesn't excrete it or get rid of it quickly enough.
Why does his body do that? Is he like superhuman?
Listen, maybe he is, maybe he's not. But what no one's telling us is world-class athlete, where you got the eggs from. Just tell us where they're from. dead easy, serial number, vendor code, etc., chain of custody. You're an elite athlete. You know where you do your shopping. Do you know what, Russell, right? There's something what's called you know this, right? There's something what's called an audit trail. Whatever you buy, when you go to the supermarket, yeah, you get whatever you get from the supermarket, you get a receipt. You throw your receipt in the bin.
I got shoplifters, mate. I don't got super.
Well, you get shoplifters. That data gets time stamped. It sits on a database with Asda or Tesco or whatever, and you can tell where I got everything from. It's not difficult. Data trails are not hard. Listen, I work with vendors. I work with supply chain. This stuff's time stamped. It's the easiest thing for them to get. They don't want to get that. But what they're doing now is they're saying it's a jurisdiction thing. Apparently, the argument is based on jurisdiction. Well, actually, you know, at the time I didn't have a license, and they're just coming at it from so many different angles in the hope defense 1 doesn't work. Right, let's try defense 2. That doesn't work. Let's try defense 3. They're doing whatever they can, but they won't do what we said. Connor, sit down, say a Hail Mary, say a Our Father, grab your rosary beads and say, I'm sorry, forgive me, I sinned.
But
And if you'd have said that,
changed the other day. Didn't the defence change the other day as well for like the 5th time now?
change. Last I heard, it was jurisdiction. There was the first argument was going to be a technicality. If you can throw that out, they're going to go back with the old chlomafene trace. But what about strict liability? Still in your system, mate. Yeah. Whether you've bought, you know, dodgy eggs from the local corner shop, or you've been abroad and you've been sparring in Spain or America and you got some dodgy eggs where they use chlomafene, it's still strict liability, buddy. You've bragged so many times about you watch everything that goes in your body. Well, you didn't then, did you?
I think he's the boy that cried wolf and they burnt all the bridges now, and they just got to come out and go, you know what? We're guilty. Take us in, go.
That's what I would do. I think, you know what?
Scrubs on remand, I could do it.
The truth always finds you, mate. The truth always finds you. And look, this is going to follow him around forever now. It doesn't matter if it becomes undisputed champion. It won't. Doesn't matter what happens now. This is going to follow him around. And
he's not going to get as much PR for winning against Mayweather as what he's had in the last 11 months, is he?
No, he's.
I want 29, nearly a year.
And you know what happens as well is, like, while there is this clamour from some extent and he's had a lot of publicity, the world moves on, doesn't it? Like I said, we've got in 2 weeks' time, we've got this massive fight. You know, the undisputed welterweight championship of the world between two elite, brilliant, modern day greats. You've got Virgil Ortiz, you've got Ennis, you've got all kinds of things happening in the division. You've got all kinds of things happening in boxing now. You've got all these hot fighters at the lightweight divisions. You got Tank, you got Shakur. People are talking about all this stuff. And it's like eventually people just stop talking about it if you've been out in the public eye for long enough. And they've handled it badly. They've probably messed up if they do get a ban. The fact that they didn't just go straight away through what they said due process wasn't followed. Well, they didn't follow due process. And if they'd done that, they'd have saved themselves a lot of heartache if they'd have just said, it's in my system. I'm going to have to go back to the dressing, you know, to the drawing board, and I'll have to do things differently. But I didn't intentionally do it. People would listen. But because we've had excuse after excuse after excuse, and the border control can kiss my backside, and my dad, now I know why my dad threw his thing in the bin. They've got a witch hunt against me.
His dad soon got it out at bin, though, didn't he?
Well, they do, don't they? Yeah.
His dad got it out at bin because 2 fights later, we're fighting in the UK.
And he had some fantastic, memorable nights in Britain, didn't he?
He had some great ones in America, though, Nigel Benn, didn't he? That a lot of people forget about. You know, when he first went over. Don't forget, Sanderline Williams, you know. And a lot
good, useful fighter.
A lot of people don't go on about that as a great win. Let me tell you this, James Toney's hardest fight, Sanderline Williams. I've seen an interview with James.
He was a very skillful fighter, and Benn had a couple of I think he had 2 hard 10-rounders, one against Sanderline Williams. Doug do it, yeah, and he knocked out
Aaron Barkley.
That was a good win. That was a really good win against Barkley. But with Conor Benn, I mean, we talk about it because we have to talk about it because it's topical. We're going to find out this week. And you know what? You and I have gone on this kind of, like, you go on this journey where 1 minute I'm like, he's going to get off. The next minute, he's going to get banned. The truth is, I'm not someone who changes my mind, but I'm either at the point I don't care, or I'm at the point nothing would surprise me, because where money's involved, who knows? But I suspect he's going to get a ban, and I suspect it's going to be at least another 12 months before he boxes, and I might be wrong. I've gone from being really confident about that to just like, do you know what? Do you know why? Because there's been that many stories and that many defences and that much.
Julian, a lot of people have clamoured for you to be head at Boxing Board of Control. I know it's not your cup of tea, but if you were head of Boxing Board of Control, right, and you had the sole decision, and you're looking at this, and everybody's put their case forward, you've got one person putting it up that Benn's a cheat, and then Benn's team are going to see it. Looking at everything, what decision would you come to, and what ban would you give him if there's guilty?
If we know beyond reasonable doubt there is clomiphene in his system, which we do because of A and B samples twice.
Even if he's been unlucky, he doesn't know how it's got there.
You have to be consistent.
They haven't said that though, have they, from the beginning?
No. You see, you have to be consistent. And if I was Robert Smith, I would give him a 2-year ban.
It's like a judge, innit, right? I've been on a few trials of barristers, so right, you know, if you go all the way on this, I'm like, yeah, you're gonna get this. I'm like, oof, well, but if you go guilty, say you're gonna get that. I'm like, I'm having that. So you know before you. Now he must have known before we started with this. Look, have you took this? Because you know, if you haven't, we're gonna go full steam ahead. Eddie would have said, and we're gonna back. Yeah. But if you've took it, right. Have you took it on purpose, or is it a mistake? We might be able to bend it, right? So he'll have gone, I'm innocent, which he has. Now they've come out with all this stuff and whatever. We didn't get the 270-page thing, did we?
But what you know, but you don't know.
Listen, Liam Cameron got 4 years for cocaine and he didn't know how it got in his system. I do. I think he's handled money. A lot of money.
But you think about this, right? Robert Smith will have to investigate certain things, right? So I keep saying this all the time, and I'll never change.
Where they're from?
Dr. Sajid, okay, the doctor. He was a British Boxing Board of Control medic.
Usman.
Sajid Usman. So are you telling me that he hasn't been called up by head office to talk about this situation? Of course
he's got to give a statement. If he was his nutrition guy, wasn't
he? It was camp
registered
doctor.
Nutrition guy, and he's gone missing, hasn't he? Where's he? He's not been on IFL.
He's gone missing. It was Tyson Fury's camp doctor, and Tyson Fury's had a banned test. He's had a ban in the past, right? It was Tyson Fury's camp doctor. It was Conor Benn's camp doctor. In spite of what they're telling us, the board will have spoken to him. Now, I want to know 2 questions, right? Where is Dr. Sajid Usman, and is he still a license holder? Because I'll tell you what's happened there. He's been called up. He's had his license taken off him, and I suspect he's had to sign an NDA, which effectively bars him from discussing this. He can't discuss it because it might prejudice the case, and he has to basically just go away, and he'll never get licensed again, mate.
Yeah. Eddie, about 4 weeks ago, was saying, look at everybody. Not many people who knew Conor Benn before, but if they didn't know him, they know him now. Look at the name he's got now. So Eddie's in his tiny head trying to turn a negative into a positive. Look at the profile he's got, because for them it's profile views and all that, and who's trending and that. They're not so much bothered about much else, are they? But he don't get any worse when he's coming out with that, does it? Really, it's just.
Well, no one knew Peter Suckley for until he got dragged to Dewsbury police station.
Hey, listen, we caught him in Sheffield, kid. Nobody else could get him in West Yorkshire. Nick Manners, you lot couldn't catch Peter Suckley over there. Could you have to leave it to the South Yorkshire lot?
Before the Conor Benn fanatics jump on and say you're comparing him to a serial killer, I'm just making a joke of the fact that just because you're massively well known for something, well, for being called Ben, for example, but you're well known for something what's not great. Don't brag about that.
Eddie Hill's grooming Parsons. People are saying that Parsons, there's a young lad and he's very vulnerable, and Eddie's grooming him. And because Parsons' interviews started off really strong and going after Eddie and trying to make a name for himself. Now he's Eddie's buttered him up, hasn't he?
It's like, come here, son. Come here, son. Listen, do you wanna struggle in media, or do you want to get on? It's dead easy. It's what do they say, to get along, you go along. It's such an old saying, isn't it? To get along, you go. Did you see the barbershop story?
I don't know, but I heard the one where Parsons had never had caviar. They went somewhere and they had caviar, didn't they? And he were like,
"Oh, did they?" Yeah.
Eddie were like, "Oh, I have it all the time." Crackers.
I've never had it.
Tell me the hairdressing one. What's happened there? Tell me.
Listen, I'm not someone who trolls Eddie Hearn, by the way. You know that I watch some of this stuff. Sometimes I don't.
I don't troll him because I'm in front of camera, but I don't like him.
Listen, the other day something popped up on, is it Boxing Social he works for? I don't know. Something popped up and he's saying,
wait for Eddie, don't they? Listen, Boxing
Eddie,
Social, I'm blowing them out to America, I'll be right.
Eddie.
Let me just get this right, Julie, right. These YouTubers that go out to America and in these hotels and all that, can I just get the point across that when I used to do it, I've been in Europe and shows and stuff like that. I've never been to America, I'm not allowed. I pay my own way, hotel, the lot. This lot, they're all paid for. So is that in-house media? Because they're paid for. If I'm flying you, Julian, out to my show to ask me questions and I'm a boxing promoter, you're not going to come out and go set about me, are you, if I'm flying you out there? See what
Listen,
I mean?
You asked Big Max when he went to Australia. I paid for my own flight, pal.
We know.
I went over as a mate and I paid for my own flight.
No, I'm just saying, I'm just saying in general, you're a YouTuber and your name's Fred Blow. I'm flying you over, aren't I? Do you know what I mean? I know you don't need anybody to pay your flights, fair enough, but you're this young lad, be a YouTuber, right? I'm Eddie Hills, right? Do you want to come to Detroit or wherever Eddie's going, Albuquerque or wherever he goes? You're going to go, like Blockbusters.
You love it.
Pretty? Yes, please, Bob. You're going to go, yes, please, Eddie, and he's going to go great. And then you're thinking, God, Eddie's invited me out here and I've been so hard on him in interviews. And then what happens a week later? Hanging out the back of him.
You're in his pocket.
That's him putting his place, isn't it? Now, if Rob Tebbit had still been at Boxing Social, if Parsons works them, I'm not sure which one he works for, but I'm sure Rob would have been saying, "What are you doing? You should be asking proper questions." But this is how it works. You get softened up, don't you? He's a young, gullible kid, isn't he? Who was started out bright, didn't he?
Yeah, it's probably a nice kid.
Like Omar, he started out going after him and that. And now he needs an operation to have his head removed out of Bricktop's ringer.
I keep saying it to you. Listen, people must think about this quote every time I say, man in the mirror, right? You got to be your own man. My dad always taught me that. Be your own man, son. Don't be anybody else's man. Be your own man and have integrity. And I think it's important, right? Like you and I, we get on. We don't always agree on everything. Sometimes we'll agree or disagree online or offline. That's just life. That's what it is. But ultimately, I respect you for being your own man, and you do I. We've got differences, we've got similarities, but it's this creepiness. It's this basic stuff. Like how many people who Eddie Hearn has done an interview with have asked him about the doctor, and then really pushed him on that point about the doctor.
Nobody's gone at him. Nobody's gone after him.
Why has nobody said to Eddie Hearn? How many people have asked Eddie Hearn about a kid like Conor Benn, whose own dad said, "Do you know what? I don't think you should be pro to knocking out former world champions cold, banging him out." No one said, "What about this? What about that?" And people are asking just tame questions, and after a while, everybody just gets used to this stuff.
This is my argument, right? The media, that's the problem, because they're allowing them to do it. Everything revolves around the media. Every sport, you need the media in sport to sell it.
Of course you do.
So Hearn and Warren and all that shower TV companies are all selling the sport, right? But if the media are going to put shit out and lies and bullshit and confuse everybody, the main people who are watching it, the hardcores, they're going to spot onto it, and it's going to spread like a cancer. And what we've got now, this has been going on now for about 3 or 4 years now. What's it going to be like in another 4 years? That's nearly a decade. It's getting worse now. Do you remember
It's
what
like
I
the
said when you come on my channel? What did I say to you? Let's look at these statistics here.
Yeah.
15 to 18, 18 to 24. And then boxing comes alive from 25-year-olds upwards. What about that age group from 25 to 15? That's 10 years people not watching it. Was it 1.9% watched that one on Sky? Well, what's going on? Or is that statistics that kids that young don't own the house or have the TV in their name? I'm not sure. But young kids are not watching boxing. They're watching UFC.
My son's 15-year-old, right? His dad's a former professional coach. He's known Josh Warrington's and Sykes has come to our house. He's got no interest in boxing, none, and he won't do either. He thinks it's naff. He's watched certain fights. He's like, he saw the Jake Paul Tommy Fury thing. He goes, what's this? He knows who Francis Ngannou is, and that's the point. He knows who these UFC guys are, and he knows who he's no interest in boxing. And it's anyway, this Eddie Hearn barbershop thing, yeah. Oh, yeah. Just to get it out there. So this Parsons has said to Eddie, whenever it was, Eddie, tell this story. It's hilarious. This is hilarious. It'll kill you. It'll kill you. And Eddie Hearn needed his hair cutting. All right. Yep. And he was trying to ring around in Detroit, trying to get a haircut. And he's managed to inbox some guy on Instagram or PM him or whatever and said, are you free? And this guy mustn't have responded. So he's gone to the hairdressers, this barbers, and he said there was like 8 people having their haircut and 10 people sat down. So Eddie said, I went in, I was being cheeky, and I was like, how are you all doing? You all right? Can you fit me in? You'll have to wait, we're busy. And the guy who was apparently the head barber, Eddie, had said something like, I sent you a message, check your Instagram or whatever, and I sent you a message. So Parsons and Eddie's telling this story, and this guy's looked, realised Eddie's got a blue tick, realised he's famous, and then he says, right, I'll do you next. Now, Parsons and Eddie think this is hilarious, and this isn't digging Eddie out, but how privileged are you that you think all those people are waiting in a queue, all those working class people are waiting in a queue, and just because you've got a blue tick next to your name, first of all, you think that makes you good and makes you clever. Second, you think you can queue jump. Third, you actually do queue jump. And fourth, you think it's funny. And this Parsons think it's the funniest thing he's ever heard.
Parsons has to laugh, doesn't it? It's a bit like Dave Caldwell and other people I've seen at pressers laughing at Eddie's jokes. But I've seen people there, some at all stages, I'm not going to say who, but there were people there who didn't laugh. And I didn't think it was funny, this joke he cracked. And I saw the ones that laughed. and when they went off, I was thinking to myself, that must be what you have to do. You must have to laugh.
Yeah. To get along, you go along. Yeah.
But no.
So he's a queue jumper as well as an undefeated knockout specialist.
I don't know if you remember that one Eddie told on IFL years ago. There was some incident at an hotel he'd gone to in America. It was, and they've gone, no, you're not booked in here or something. He said, no, I haven't. He said, no, have you got any ideas? So I'm Eddie Hearn. He's gone, like, what's that? And he said, Google me. And and I thought, why would you come out with that on IFL that you told him to Google you? Maybe he don't know that. That's a bit cringe. So
I guess it's, listen, he's probably a good guy. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me, but there's an etiquette, isn't there? And there's nothing wrong with having to wait for your hair cutting, mate. Not that I have to worry about that now. There's nothing wrong with having to wait for a bar for a drink, wait in the shop, wait in the fish and chip shop for your tea. It's called queuing, mate. And just because you've got a blue tick next to your name, he's lucky in Detroit. He didn't get smacked.
What?
He's lucky in Detroit. He didn't get smacked for queue jumping.
I don't
very lucky.
Queue jumping. I
can't stand it. I can't stick it.
Would have been hell on. I would have said, hey, where you going?
But Parsons likes it. Parsons, I'm not digging Parsons.
No, Parsons weren't team Eddie. Look, he's had a couple of flights over there, and he's had a couple of mixed grills with his dinner, a couple of pints of beer, and he's on side, isn't he? That's how it works.
Yeah.
Parsons is on side now, isn't he? They've got 200,000 subscribers, Boxing Social. We'll get him on side.
It's nothing new. Listen, certain newspapers always
Listen,
follow.
he'll probably have no press pass a year from now if he says wrong thing. So
I'll be done. He'll be out. He'll be out.
Spencer Juggiers Oliver were asked by Simon Jordan on Talksport, could he name him a boxer in the UK that's overrated? And he couldn't name one. Is that a hard question for somebody in the media who was an ex-boxer and got friends? Am I being harsh on Juggiers here, or should he have said one? Because he could name underrated ones, but he couldn't name an overrated one.
I've just named an overrated one in Josh Kelly. He's massively overrated. Just say it, Spence. Come on, there's overrated fighters out there.
He said
AJ's overrated.
Said Herbie Hyde, and because Herbie Hyde's long gone and off at scene, isn't he? We're on about active fighters. Shit house. I'd love to get
Conor Benn. Conor Benn's overrated.
Conor Benn is overrated. Boxing King Media, one of them's really ill or something. And somebody said to me, I'm not sure if it were Terry,
I don't know,
Armour or Rico's. So I hope the lad is all right. I'm not sure if it's the lad who emailed me about sponsorship with Welcome Estates, and I gave him Gary's email. I think he had some back and forwards with him recently, but I hope he's all right. Is he an Asian kid, isn't he? I think is he the kid who runs it?
You mean Hakim Karim?
Is that him? I'm not sure. I don't know. Somebody's supposed.
I don't know. I don't want to misquote somebody. I've not heard anything. But if it is, he's an absolute lovely guy.
Yeah, so I hope he's all right.
No, I don't know the story.
Willie Hutchinson, I'm hearing's left flex. So
when was the last time Willie Hutchinson boxed? It must be a while ago.
Yeah, he hadn't fought for a bit. I think he might have fought recently and got a win, but he had a loss. He did get beat, didn't he, in one fight?
I saw him get beat a couple of years ago.
Lennox, who done him?
That's it. The big. I mean, that was a bad match anyway. You put a young kid who's physically not developed yet in with a. I can't remember his name, but yeah, it was a physical, strong man who was just walking through his shots.
I think Dominic rushed him, to be honest. Willie Hutchinson got him that loss. That's why.
Because he was a world junior champion or something. Was a hell of a pedigree as an amateur, didn't he?
Wasn't he?
And this is what you do. You bring fighters along at different speeds. It doesn't matter. It depends on who they are. There's not a recipe for every single fighter. Some come along slowly, some come along quicker. Some fighters physically take some time to mature. And I remember that was a damaging loss for Willie Hutchinson. I don't know if psychologically you get over that. I don't know.
I've heard Ross Birkinshaw might be coming back. You know what I mean? Pal, she's left me, pal, for a rasta.
Little bit of trivia for you. So I once was in the opposite corner to Ross. I was handing up for Chris Aston, and it was John Doherty's son, John Doherty, who they had I think it was a 4-round draw. They had a cracking fight, and I think he came in with a few soldiers then. Did Ross? Is he an ex-squaddy or something?
Yeah, he once had his dinner with Prince Harry or something.
Yeah, and him and I have to go back and remember this, but I was in the corner with Chris Aston and John Doherty and John's dad, and I think he dropped Ross, and I think he got a draw. It was a hard fight, but it's some time ago, so my memory's a bit hazy. But yeah, nice kid.
Yeah, good luck to Ross if he's coming back on a big Ron ticket deal. Well, they brought Fielke back, didn't they? They dug Fielke up after 7
you can't have this time out of the ring. You can't do it. You just got to spend time with your family. If you want to stay in boxing, take up coaching, become a promoter, become a manager. You can't have all this time out of the ring and come back. It's crazy. Madness.
Dennis will mentor him. What are you on about? Dennis knows what he's on with.
It's one thing for George Foreman to come back, but, no.
Bricktop. If Fury leaves him, right? And listen, it can happen any day, you know. You know that, don't you?
Well, apparently
Tail's wagging dog now, isn't it?
They're saying Tommy's left him. Is that right?
Yeah, Tommy's left Bricktop. Yeah.
Yeah, I saw something online.
It's on card. You know that, don't you?
It's always the case, isn't it? When one fighter leaves him, then the next one does. It's a bit like Daniel Dubois left Shane McGuigan, didn't he? Caroline will. She'll follow the brother. There's a matter of time before these things happen. And I think
right time.
Tom, and by the way, Tommy Fury and John Fury, what I read about them today, very briefly, what John said, I can't, it's hard to disagree with. It's a hard sport, is boxing. And remember a few months ago, you and I chatted about Tommy.
Don't
and
forget,
I said,
John Fury he wasn't a big earner when he fought, so he'll have made mistakes and he won't want his kids to have the same mistakes as him, will he? I would have thought.
Tommy Fury, I said this months ago on your channel, Tommy Fury should focus on this influencer boxing or whatever it's called, right? It's the best thing for him. He's a lovely kid. He's popular. He always comes across as being quiet, actually, and quite shy, in spite of some of the things what happen on social media. And if he can earn millions and millions and millions in this level of boxing, that's what he should do. Because I don't think he's got an English title in him at professional level. That's just my opinion. And I think it's a good choice. He's got a lovely
Can't do
wife.
175, can he?
He can't do 175.
He can't do probably 200 pounds. So what's he going to do?
What?
Invent a weight division at 185. He can't do that in boxing. So he's knackered, really, and he's like an in-betweener, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he's too big for light heavyweight, as you say. His upper body's huge.
Cruiserweight.
He's not big enough for cruiserweight. He's a nice kid, earning millions. If he wasn't called Fury and hadn't been on a reality TV show, he wouldn't be in the situation he's in.
Selling crack in Manchester now, if he want a Fury.
Yeah, I think John Fury is doing the right thing. Look after my son, make a ton of money for doing this influencer stuff, and then get out of boxing. Make a ton of money from both. Get out of boxing. And do you know what? Whatever we say about John Fury, he knows the way boxing's run. He'll have been given 300 or 400 quid for some of his pro fights. Just see how they're treated like meat. And you know what? I've no issue with fighters leaving managers, trainers, and promoters, or vice versa, as long as they have an open conversation with them and say, you know what, look, we're moving on, shake hands, and you don't want to wake up and read the paper the day after to find out that your fighter's left to do this, to do that. As long as they've had that conversation face to face, good luck to Tommy Fury.
Yeah, good luck to him. But I don't think that Tommy's going to have another fight in Queensbury rules, can I? Don't think it. I think it'll just be misfits, won't it? Now,
I think he'll fight KSI. He'll fight Jake Paul. He might fight one other guy. Probably make about 7 or 8 million. Done.
Yeah. Yeah. Women boxing at the moment. What did you think to Savannah's win?
I thought she won on points, clearly. You know, the rounds were reasonably competitive. I thought she put right a lot of things that she did wrong against Shields, knowing I understand Cruz is not Shields. I thought it was a commanding performance, but she approached it the right way around this time. I think that was the difference. She used a range of leverage. She was picking really, really nice shots. And what I will say about scoring, people always say scoring subjective. But if you watch the Savannah's fight against Cruz, and you watch the way that Savannah was turning the knuckle over, turning the shots over, really clean, crisp shots. And then if you watch Cruz, the slaps, the swipes, they're not, you can see there's hardly any KOs. She scored hardly any KOs whatsoever. So I thought Savannah not just won the fight by landing more shots. I thought she won better quality all the way through. And I'd like to see her fight Shields again, if I'm being completely honest. Maybe I'm out of my depth. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't believe Shields is this greatest of all time, greatest woman of all time, because I think there are a lot many better female fighters, but she just happens to be blessed. How many fighters are there at middleweight and super middleweight who are that good? And Peter Fury said in the build-up, didn't he, when Savannah first fought Shields, he goes, the only reason you're fighting each other is because everybody else is crap, let's be honest. And I thought it was quite funny that Peter said that, but I thought, let's be honest, right? How many from light middleweight to super middleweight women can really box? I don't mean that to be rude, by the way. 4 or 5 of them are good fighters. And I think that she has to fight Shields again, and I'd give her a real good chance against Shields, if I'm being completely honest.
Would you?
Yeah. Now, I'm not saying that because you know these guys. It's irrelevant to me. I said before when Shields fought Marshall, I I thought Marshall might edge that fight, but I thought she got well beat. I thought Shields won the fight clearly, and I've no issue with that. But I think she could put it right, and I think she could beat her if she does very similar to what she did against Cruz. I think she beat Shields. I don't buy this what, as I've just said, I don't buy what Shields is, because I look at Serrano and Katie Taylor, and I think technically they're way better than Shields, but she just happens to be. She's tough, she's strong, she throws a lot of shots, and she's got a lot of grit. But I don't see what everybody else sees.
Well, we're gonna see, aren't we? Do you think that Franchon Cruz were a bit better than what people made out?
I just thought she was tough. I thought she was tough, strong, fit. She kept coming. She kept coming. She finishing the end of the round strong. But it's not just about being tough enough, is it? I always wonder, and everybody does, but I always think unifications. I've said this to you before about the men and the women. I wonder if the women's unification should be 12-2s or 10-3s, and I do wonder if I mean, do you know what's going to be really frustrating? I think Spence and Crawford over 12 rounds, because they're so good and so elite. I think undisputed only should be over 15 rounds, because if you look back in history, how many great fights have been settled in those what we call those championship rounds. It's like Pryor Arguello, Fraser and Ali.
14th round and the 14th, wasn't it?
How many fights have been separated in those championship rounds? So many, Pinto Gomez, so many great fights. Ray Robinson, obviously Lamotta, the Valentine's Day Massacre. You can go back. Billy Conn, Joe Louis. Billy Conn was outboxing Joe Louis for 12 rounds. Yeah. Billy Conn was outboxing Joe Louis, and Joe Louis caught up with him, didn't he, in the 13th round?
I like that. Tony Zane, is it? Is it Zane? Tony Zane?
Tony Zale, those guys, and Rocky Graziano, and Carmen Basilio, all those guys.
Carmen Basilio was one of my favourites. Carmen Basilio.
So the work rate was off the scale, wasn't it? And you look at guys like that, and that's why I personally would make unifications over 15 rounds. That's just me. I think it would. I think Spence and Crawford's going to be brilliant, but they'll both have something left in the tank after 12 rounds. And I just think we don't want anybody hurt. But these are elite professional athletes. They'll do 15, 16 rounds in the gym, not a problem. And I'd like to see unifications, women's either more rounds or 10-3s, and men's 15-3s. That's just me.
Yeah.
You imagine Fury and Usyk? That's got 12 rounds written all over it.
They can do it easy, them two, though, can't they?
Exactly. Those guys can do 12 rounds.
All day.
But that's last 3 rounds might really truly set.
You're never really sure if you can do it, are you really?
Exactly. And I can't help but mention him, but
even
Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearn,
still not doing rounds properly, is he?
No. Look at Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns, and look at that how he came back. How Ray Leonard came back. You're blowing it, son. You're blowing it. And we might not have had that had it been a 12 rounder. And then it just, if you look historically, 15 round fighters, they separate the brilliant fighters from the truly great fighters, in my opinion. It's not about how many rounds you do, it's about doing the weight right. That wherever you get fighters who have suffered trauma or injury, it's generally been because there's been issues with making the weight.
Yeah.
Not because it's been a 15 rounder.
Yeah. All right then. You want to go on to part 3, kid?
Let's do it.
Pop, pop, bang.